we have our Big Ten SEC challenge that we're going to work through here. So if the Big Ten and the SEC, we're going to enter into a Big Ten SEC challenge similar to what they've done in basketball with the Big Ten ACC challenge and the SEC ACC challenge, where one Big Ten team plays one SEC team every year. Then what would we want that to look like in 2025? I have put together my list. Zach's put together his list. We are doubling up on some of them, but a lot of these are different. So we're going to kind of give you guys some different perspectives. And because the Big Ten does have 18 teams and the SEC has 16, we are going to have to skip a couple times. But Zach and I never skip the same team twice.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a fan of a team and if I skipped it, don't worry. Zach has a one. If Zach skipped it, I have one. So, Zach, should we just start from the top?
Let's do it.
All right, Illinois. I'll go first. I chose Arkansas for Illinois because I felt like it'd be really fun to see Brett Bielema play against his old team, and whoever the coach is in Arkansas, whether it's Pittman, I think it's still Pittman there. That's kind of irrelevant to me. I just think it'd be funny to see Brett Bielema play against his former team. What's yours, Zach?
Yeah, I think they'd win too. I picked Tennessee. And part of it is I think Illinois is on the ascent. I think Tennessee has established themselves as a top 5, top 6 team in the SEC. And I think that would be a really fun competitive matchup between Josh Heupel and Bielema. Contrast to styles too. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, if he could do to Josh Heupel what he did to Shane Beamer, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, for Indiana, I chose Ole Miss. I thought, Lane Kiffin is highly regarded by many for whatever. I don't get it. I'm not really a big Lane Kiffin guy. I watched an SEC podcast the other day, and they ranked Lane Kiffin their second best coach in the SEC, to which I was like, if he's your second best coach, you guys have got problems. There are 5 or 6 coaches in the Big Ten I would take before I would ever take Lane Kiffin. So I think it'd be fun to see, new guy on the block, Kirk Cinetti, trying to make a way for himself, trying to gain some national attention, going up against Lane Kiffin, who's considered one of the best in the SEC by some fans. I just think that'd be really fun if Kirk Cinetti beat him. And it's one of those ones where if he doesn't beat him, you know what? He wasn't supposed to beat him anyway. And they can say whatever, but I think it'd be really fun if he beat him.
Yeah. I like that. I picked LSU mostly because I wanted to see Brian Kelly just squirm as Kurt Signetti just beat the brakes off of him. That nothing would make me happier. So
there you go. I like it. Next is Iowa, and I actually chose LSU against Iowa because I thought it would be hilarious if little old Iowa, who doesn't recruit, doesn't have the highest recruiting rankings, stuff like that. If they went to LSU and went up against them and they took down Brian Kelly and this super athletic LSU team that everybody talks about. I mean, we just saw USC take them down. UCLA had a good game going into halftime with them. Like, Iowa could definitely win that game against Brian Kelly and LSU.
Yeah.
And Kirk Ferentz is a much better in-game coach than Brian Kelly is. So
yeah.
I think it would be absolutely hilarious, and LSU might fire him on the spot if Kirk Ferentz.
I think that's true. Iowa often beats teams that are not as physical, but like claim that they're faster and more offensively efficient. Just several bowl
really
games.
The only team that didn't work with was Tennessee. But they also were missing a bunch of players in that game. That bowl game 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah. Well, and Tennessee was strong on the lines in that game too.
Yeah.
So I picked Kentucky, and I think this is a maybe a cheapie for me, but I think Iowa and Kentucky are kind of similar in what they want to do. They want to pound the rock. They want to play good defense, have good special teams. And so I know Kentucky has not been good the past couple years, but I think they match well. And we've seen that game several times in bowl games. And I feel like every time they play, it's actually a pretty entertaining game.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that idea. All right. Next is Maryland. Zach, you want to tell people what you picked for Maryland?
I just picked that they stink. Skip.
Yeah. The Maryland fans don't like this podcast, I'm sure. So if you're a Maryland fan and you listen to us, please do comment. I would love to meet you because actually we dog on Mike Loxley a lot. It doesn't come from a part of us hating Maryland. It actually comes from a part, at least for me. I can't speak about you, Zach. Maybe you just hate them.
No,
But
no.
I want Maryland to be good because they can recruit. Like
Yeah.
they have a fertile recruiting ground. But Mike Loxley is not good. So
Yeah.
and it
Which,
annoys me.
by the way, if anyone knows a good Maryland podcast that we could reach out to, if you could DM us, that'd be great. Because we've been, I mean, on my previous show and on this one, I would love to talk with Maryland people, but we just have not been able to find a good Maryland podcast yet. So
Yeah.
hit us up.
Let us know. All right, appreciate it. My Maryland pick was Mississippi State. I just,
It's fair.
maybe they can beat them. That's my hope.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. Michigan. You go first here. Who do you got?
I have Ole Miss. I thought the Lane Kiffin Sharon Moore matchup would be fun, and then I think Michigan's emphasis on defense versus Ole Miss's emphasis on high flying offense. I thought that would be a fun clash of styles.
Trojan Fight says, "Who's the 5-star Maryland defensive lineman I'm calling now? Zero chance he sticks with Maryland. I mean, there's a chance. I think it's Zion Ely. I think his name is. He's from the DMV. Really good player. I mean, you watch his tape. He is fantastic. And he committed to Maryland. I think it was kind of like a hometown gesture, but I don't know for sure. So I don't want to say, but I mean, there's a possibility they hold on to him because they have signed really good players before. But I'm with you, Trojan Fight. I think they probably he probably goes someplace else. Apparently, Auburn is offering like buku money to him, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if he heads to Auburn. All right. Yeah, Michigan. I have Tennessee. Ever since that Ohio State game where they came out with their shirts off and they were trying to act tough and everything, like you think Michigan fans talk about how Ohio State is soft and everything, like. Please, Tennessee fans, not Tennessee fans, but Tennessee, please try and pull that against Michigan and then just get your teeth kicked in for the entire game. Like, could you imagine how much Michigan fans would be going out? Like, they're like kumbaya right now because they were rooting for Tennessee to beat Ohio State. So they're like best friends. But yeah, if they tried to do that, their shirts off in like the really cold weather and then Michigan just destroyed them, at the line of scrimmage that game, that would, yeah, that'd be quite the Big Ten SEC matchup.
That'd be rough.
Yeah.
That'd be very rough.
I got David Greenshield here. He's saying, "What's up? What's up, David? Thanks for being
Hey,
here,
David.
We got our call-in show tomorrow night, 8:00. I know you're not a member yet, but if you want to become a member and call in, so 8:00 tomorrow night, David, Eastern time.
Yep.
All right.
That's gonna be so
next?
fun. I'm so
It
excited
is.
for that.
Really, really excited for the call-in show. Michigan State. Zach, what do you got for Michigan State?
I have Florida. And the reason is I think both Florida and Michigan State at their peak can be like national championship level teams, but are just very inconsistent. Like Florida's been down for like 12 years, something like that. Like I know they've had a couple of peaks, but in general they've been fairly inconsistent and poor or mediocre. Mediocre is a better word. And obviously Michigan State is in a downturn right now. But I mean, you go back and look at some of those teams that Mark D'Antonio had. I mean, there were a couple teams, obviously they took down good Ohio State teams. They took down Stanford, a really good Stanford team in the Rose Bowl. Like they can recruit when they're good. They can get recruits from Michigan and Ohio. And I think they can pluck some from other fertile recruiting grounds. I think that'd be a fun matchup, especially if they're both good.
Yeah, I think Michigan State would have to do a good job of trying to get enough athletes out of the portal to do that. My first inclination was like, I don't know if Michigan State can win a national championship, but in today's day and age, like you can get all kinds of athletes out of the portal, and if you're just a well-coached team with disciplined players, like you can make it happen. So, yeah, I think Florida probably has a better chance just because of their kind of fertile recruiting ground down there. But yeah, I'm with you. Those two teams could be a really good matchup. I put down Kentucky for Michigan State. I think Michigan State and Kentucky go after a lot of the same recruits. They both kind of go after recruits that excuse me, that Ohio State and Michigan are not going after as much, and so there are some recruiting battles between those two, and so you could see a bunch of players that tried to go to Kentucky actually went to Michigan State, and a bunch of players that went
Yeah.
to Michigan State and also thought about Kentucky, and it'd be kind of fun little rivalry matchup there, and then also you got the basketball and everything involved there too, so
That's good. That's a good
yeah.
point.
Yeah. So, got Doreen here. She says, "Hey JR and Zach, happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, Doreen. Hope you have a great Wednesday. Getting close to Wednesday tomorrow, so hope you have a great Wednesday. Thanks for being here, Doreen.
Yeah.
All right, Zach. Minnesota. We got the same one. Why don't you tell everybody who it is?
South Carolina. PJ Fleck taking on Shane Beamer. Who has more confidence in that one?
Whoever takes the antidote of confidence. So I would say PJ Fleck. I think this would be a really fun one. Minnesota does a good job with the line of scrimmage, and I think that obviously South Carolina has a really good defensive line, really young right now, but a really good defensive line. So it'd be interesting to see if Minnesota could hold up against them. And then I think Minnesota is a scrappy team. Like if Brett Bielema could outcoach Shane Beamer to that level, like I said, I think PJ Fleck's a pretty good coach. Yeah. I think PJ Fleck has the opportunity. I'm not going to predict that it would happen, but I think he has the opportunity to possibly outcoach Shane Beamer in that one. Yeah. And if you thought it was funny watching Illinois beat South Carolina, oh boy, watch PJ Fleck beat South Carolina. That would be hilarious.
It's interesting. We were talking about this on the show that aired this morning with Sky U Pod, but I feel like South Carolina and Minnesota are similar in terms of program stature, but because you see a few more 5-stars go to South Carolina gets a lot of the benefit of the doubt, right? Like they should be in the playoff. They should be this, they should be that. But like, everybody was down on Minnesota early this year. Like I think they had a 4.5 win total. And I remember like us, Sky U Pod, we're like, they're not going to lose 8 games. Like this is too good of a team and they have too good of a roster to lose that many games. What are you people smoking? And I think in a sense, I think both historically as well as currently, like South Carolina probably has a little bit more talent, but I think Minnesota is actually a lot closer to South Carolina than most people would dare admit.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And Minnesota's done a good job with the line of scrimmage, like I said, offensive, but they've also had some good defensive guys too. Now they did lose their defensive line coach to the NFL. That was unfortunate, but I mean, PJ Fleck's done a really good job of hiring new guys to come in, and he doesn't have the biggest budget for his position coaches, but he brings in good guys who develop talent, and that's one of the biggest things with me with PJ Fleck that I think people don't give him credit for. So
yeah.
David says, where do I sign up for the membership? So you can't sign up on your phone. If you're listening on your phone, you can't sign up from there. If you go to the video on a desktop, a computer, whatever it is, go to the video. Right under the video, it will say join. You click that button to join. It's $3 a month. In addition to the call-in show, you also get priority in the chat for us to like bring up your comments more, and then you get to suggest any topics you want us to talk about before every episode. We send out a message to all of our members before every episode, and you can suggest a topic if you'd like to. So thanks for asking, David. That's if you need help further than that, send me a message on Twitter after the show and I'll help you out. So all right, friend of the show, Alibaba Mikey says Fleck would do to Beamer what Bielema did, play his toxic positivity, mind games, and win the game on 4th down. Listen, that's what I'm saying. People underrate PJ Fleck as a coach. He might not be the flashiest guy in the world, but people saw what he did in that USC game, and I think he could do something similar to Shane Beamer that he did to in that one, in that game. So yeah. All right, Zach, next, Nebraska. We have the same one here as well. Yeah. Oklahoma, the rivalry between Oklahoma and Nebraska, felt like that was too good to pass up. And both teams, Oklahoma won 6 games last year. Oklahoma won 6 games. Nebraska won 7 games. So be just a fun fun little rivalry to renew for at least 1 year. I think it'd be cool to see Matt Rule, Brent Venables, stuff like that. So, any
Yeah.
comment there, Zach?
Yeah. I think you got to go with rivalry.
Yeah.
Like it's just historic. It's a historic rivalry. It's one of the best rivalries in college football, and it's been very rare since they've played. I know they played at home and home, I think, a couple years ago, but get it back.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Northwestern. I skipped them, Zach. I nothing personal, Northwestern fans. I just didn't find a good matchup for you. Sorry, Zach did though. Zach, what's your matchup?
I've got a battle of the nerds, Northwestern versus Vandy. That's all my analysis on that. That's it.
Nerd battle. It's kind of like Northwestern versus Duke. Like they have their own fun little rivalry that
Yeah.
nobody really knows about, but
And those games are good. Like, well, I don't know if they're good. They're fun.
they're competitive.
Are they? Well, are they actually fun?
They're close in competition. So if
They
we're going to say
are.
the Big 12 is competitive, we're going to say that game's competitive.
There we go. There we go. That Duke Northwestern game, actually, I remember falling asleep on my couch trying to stay awake. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where is the quarterback play? Oh, it wasn't at
Yeah.
Northwestern. Sorry, Northwestern. But I think it'd be fun.
They figured it out later on. Jack Lausch, and then they got Preston Stone. So
Yeah, there you go.
Good job by them.
There you go.
Philip says, "Battle of the Nerds for the Pocket Protector Trophy."
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
I like it. I like it.
That's
Good one, Philip.
Yes, that's fantastic.
All right, next one, Ohio State. This is when you get to some of the bigger boy matchups. We'll get 3 straight here. Ohio State, I have them going up against Alabama. Ohio State hasn't faced Alabama in a while. They had that 2020 national championship where Ryan Day faced Nick Saban. Obviously, Ohio State lost that one, but with Kalen DeBoer now, maybe get that back and see how they do in that one. So I'd like to see Ohio State play Alabama. Zach, who do you have?
So I have Georgia. My first pick was Texas, and I was like, well, they're playing Texas. So, and I think Texas is positioned. Texas and Georgia are the 2 teams I think positioned currently to be the top 2 teams in the SEC. And so I just went with Georgia. And obviously they have recent history, but they haven't played a lot, Ohio State, Georgia. So
yeah, I like that, and they do have that 2022 game where Ohio State wants revenge and everything else. So that good pick there, good pick. Oregon, I picked Georgia from Oregon just purely because of Dan Lanning. Used to coach there, go up against his old head coach, and why am I blanking on his name right now? Why am I blanking on the Georgia head coach's name?
Oh, Kirby Smart.
Kirby Smart. It's the worst name to ever blank on in the world. Yes, Kirby Smart for Georgia. I think that'd be really, really fun to see Dan Lanning go up against him again. Kind of, the storylines and everything else there. So that would be fun to see. They'd probably play a neutral site game in Georgia, but, whatever. It is what it is. Right. Zach, who do you have for Oregon?
They did that, I think, 3 years ago, too. I think Oregon.
No, they literally did. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're right.
It was Dan Lanning's first year.
In Atlanta is the Chick-fil-A kickoff game, and you could tell it was in Georgia, and you could tell it was Dan Lanning's first game. I think it's good. I think that's a good pick though, because I think now, Oregon would have run roughshod on them in the playoff if they had actually gotten Georgia in a matchup. But I've got them playing Texas, which is the game we would have gotten if Oregon had beaten Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. And I think that'd be a fun matchup. You see that, I think the way that Oregon's building to be a more physical team in the trenches, you have Texas who's really built themselves up. I think that'd be a really fun matchup too.
Yeah, and it's kind of, you got similar coaches there, right? Like Dan Lanning, he just won the conference the year after he got so close to winning the Pac-12. Sark is, thought of as one of the best coaches in college football, but he's fallen short of the conference and also the national championship. So you got 2 coaches who, are seeing success, but they're also kind of falling short in some ways. So one of them would have to come out on top, and I think it would be really, really interesting to see. Yeah. All right. Penn State. I have Penn State playing Texas. And that's honestly one of the reasons why I have, that one is kind of what I talked about there with James Franklin. He has won the Big Ten 2016, but most people would agree that, he's kind of fallen short a little bit lately. And Sark, he won his games in the college football playoffs, but he's fallen short as well. He wasn't able to defeat Georgia for the second time playing them. He played against Ohio State. Ohio State beat him by a couple touchdowns. So as far as I'm concerned, I think it'd be a good matchup. I think you get a good storyline between the coaches.
Philip just put in the chat Penn State versus Kent State. I'm like, I'm never going to live that down, am I?
It was the perfect game for you to go to, though, and cover.
It was great. It was great. It was great. John Jacobs is somewhere lurking and being like, Kent State is.
Yeah. We haven't seen John Jacobs in a while. We'll have to see what he's up to.
Yeah, I have Penn State, Alabama. The last time Penn State and Alabama played was 2011. It was Joe Pa. It was the year that Joe Pa got fired for the controversy, and Alabama was clearly they were light years better than Penn State. But I think that changed. I think that's different now. Certainly Alabama still has a really good roster, but I think in this playoff before SMU got the nod over Alabama, I think a lot of people kind of expected Bama to be traveling to Happy Valley for the first round. And I think that's a much more even matchup now with, I think, favoring Penn State.
Yeah, get Kalen DeBoer going there. If they could make it a whiteout, that would be awesome. Yeah, I like that choice. All right, next is Purdue. Sorry, Purdue. I skipped you. Zach, who do you have?
See, I got to give love to the original members of the Big Ten. And so Purdue, even though they were, clearly the worst team in the conference, I feel like historically Purdue has had some good years and they deserve a little bit of love. I'm not saying that you don't love them. I just, I was like, if it's between them and Maryland.
Dylan, if you're listening, I hate Purdue. Listen, if you're listening, I'm just kidding.
Just only DK. To everybody else, we enjoy Purdue. But I've got them playing Mississippi State.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. It's kind of like the Maryland Mississippi State. It's like, please win.
Yeah.
Here's a cupcake. Please win.
Mm-hmm.
Toledo was it Toledo or Bowling Green beat Mississippi State last year? So
I think it was Toledo. I think no, man, I forget.
Bowling Green beat somebody.
Bowling Green almost beat Penn State.
Oh, they did almost beat Penn State. I thought they did beat somebody, but maybe I'll have to look it up. All right, we'll go to the next one. Rutgers. Rutgers has a soft spot for me and you both. I went ahead and chose Vanderbilt for this one. I would have gone Northwestern, but Vanderbilt was better last year, and so I felt like they needed a little bit of a better matchup, and so going with Greg Schiano and all that stuff and everything. So I went ahead and went with Rutgers and Vanderbilt here. Zach, who is your Rutgers pick?
My Rutgers pick was South Carolina. Oh, wait, I did South. Oh, darn it.
South Carolina from Minnesota.
Oh, no. What did I do? I messed up. Who did I not pick on here?
Well, you look at it and then we'll come back to it because you skipped the next team anyway. So I'll
that's fair.
Yeah, you look at it and then we'll come back.
All right.
We'll get back to Zach's with Rutgers here in just a second. I have UCLA playing against Auburn. I think it would be fun to see Hugh Freeze go out there. And could you imagine the fun of Hugh Freeze giving DJ Durkin $2.5 million? They just lost to Cal last year out there. Have them travel out to UCLA. That would be so much fun to watch Hugh Freeze. Watch him go out and lose to Deshaun Foster and Tino Sinceri and everything they've got going on out there. Oh my gosh! Please give me that. That would be awesome.
There you go.
Zach, who do you have with Rutgers?
So in all honesty, I just wanted to see Shane Beamer lose it twice. That's why that happened. No, Rutgers plays Arkansas. I think it's a good matchup for them, and battle of red teams. And Rutgers and Arkansas have a little bit of history. So, and then I skipped UCLA, not for the same reason that I skipped Maryland, jokingly because Maryland stinks, but not actually. I think Maryland and UCLA for me, I feel like both of them are their lower programs that aren't traditionally in the Big Ten. And so that was kind of my, Rutgers, I feel like it fits profile wise a little bit better in the Big Ten, just the way that they're constructed. And then USC and Washington are more blue blood programs. And so that's kind of why I picked those two to skip.
Makes sense. Yeah, John, you're right. Zach just wanted to dunk on Shane Beamer again. Anytime we get a chance to dunk on Shane Beamer, that's what we'll do. So
there we go.
All right. Washington. We both picked the same one for this one. We both picked Texas A&M. I thought Texas A&M just because, the difference in style a little bit. You kind of saw it, with USC and Texas A&M in their game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Washington is a little bit of USC right now. You got Jed Fish calling plays, and they got a good quarterback, and Jed Fish is a good quarterback developer. Like USC, obviously, he's not on the level of Lincoln Riley or anything like that, but still. And I just think it'd be a fun matchup to see Mike Elko, new coach there, Jed Fish, new coach at Washington, them going up against each other.
Yep. I think, did we skip USC?
Oh, we did. I apologize. Yeah, give your Washington, then we'll go back and get USC. Sorry.
Yeah, I have Texas A&M too for Washington.
Sweet. All right, USC, you give yours then.
I have Auburn, and the main thought for me is that right now both USC and Auburn are underachieving programs, and yet both programs can be national championship caliber programs. And so I feel like where they are currently, they would probably match decently. I think USC would have the edge. And then I think at their heights, it would be a good matchup too.
Yeah, I agree. I think that makes sense. I went with USC and Missouri for that one. I just thought similar to, what I talked about with Jed Fish and him being an offensive guy, Eli Drinkowitz, offensive guy with Missouri, and that kind of whole thing there. And also, I've been harping on Lincoln Riley to give up the play calling for some time now. Well, guess who gave up play calling after they faced Missouri? Ryan Day. So maybe Lincoln Riley gives up the play calling after facing Eli Drinkowitz. Who knows? So I'm begging for it at this point.
I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's
not. John with a good comment here. He said Mike Locksley versus Shane Beamer, who gets dunked on the hardest by the Big Ten.
Boom.
Yeah.
It's Locksley. It's Locksley.
Well,
it's not.
It's
close.
probably whoever loses, right?
Well, but they're not playing each other.
But that's what. Oh, okay. I guess you say okay. But I'm saying if they did play each other, though, if Maryland and South Carolina played each other, though.
Do we really trust Mike Locksley to beat anybody?
Fine.
Except Mississippi State?
That's true. All right. Wisconsin. Ryan, thank you for the super chat. We'll get to that here just a second right after Wisconsin. So Wisconsin, I have Florida. I think that Wisconsin and Florida are in similar situations. Florida last year, Wisconsin this year. A bit of a hot seat for Luke Fickell. What's going on there? He has a really tough schedule ahead. I'm hoping that Luke Fickell can pull something off, kind of like what why am I blanking on the Florida coach's name now, Shane?
Oh gosh. I'm blanking on him too.
If he could pull off something like the Florida coach did there last year, that would be really impressive to me. Unfortunately, he's not bringing in DJ Lagway like he did. So if he had DJ Lagway, or a 5-star quarterback, that would probably help him out. But it's bringing in Billy Edwards. We'll see what he can be. But that's my choice there.
Billy Napier is the guy. I have Missouri. And I think a big part of that is I think Missouri's had a decent run. I think they are probably I think the way the SEC is constructed, I think Missouri's probably going to fall to the middle of the pack, and I think that's where Wisconsin is right now. So I think they're just more evenly matched.
Yeah, I agree.